365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Kiyum for Salam Radio 106.2 FM. By the way, this is the Body Health and Mind Show. We come on every Wednesday evening. I can't wait to look forward to these Wednesday evenings when I come on. And obviously, I try my best to bring the best shows to you, full of innovative information about the medical world and the best guests as well. And you know, today I have one such guest. And the reason why I have one such guest who is probably going to be one of my most special guests is I have worked with this lovely lady. Her name is Dr. Kavita Bhardwaj, and a lot of you will know her. A lot of my listeners will know her. She's absolutely wonderful, adorable. I miss her heaps because I'm not working with her anymore. But just to put aside, Dr. Kavita and I are probably the best, non-biased, in a non-biased way, are probably the best GPs in Peterborough. So I'd like to say that to her credit, first of all, and then obviously to mine. But I'd like to bid a very good evening to Dr. Kavita. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Shabina. I'm speechless now.
Oh, no. I have so much that I have to talk to you about. It's wonderful to have you on. You've recently come back from India. You're obviously very jet-lagged, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about this wonderful thing. Now, if I want to give a little bit of an introduction about Kavita, she's a general, I call her Kavi, by the way, but I'm going to speak to you as Kavi, and everybody else knows you as Dr. Bhardwaj, which is okay. And Kavi is actually a GP in Cambridgeshire, and she's the mental health lead of Octagon Medical Practice. And the reason why we've had this show is because we want to talk a little bit about abuse and bullying and therapies to do with bullying. And actually, she set up a project, Kavi has, called the Thought Conditioners. And the aim of the project is to stop the cycle of abuse. So a really interesting show. Actually, it's one of its kind because it addresses a taboo issue in the Asian community, doesn't it?
Yes. Mental health, abuse, they're all associated with stigma and taboo. Even the word mental is a stigma. So unfortunately, even going back to playgrounds, if you want to insult someone or bully someone, say, oh, this person's mental. Yeah.
It does have a really heavy meaning to it, doesn't it, Kavi? And what made you sort of, because we were talking about this a little bit earlier on in terms of bullying within schools. There are bullying policies in various schools that I've seen. What actually made you think about this? So this particular area, or this particular field, you know, it obviously has its mental health implications. We see it every day in general practice.
Yes.
You know, what sort of encouraged you to do work in this field? What was it that hit you about it?
So over the past many years, both children and adults I have seen as patients who have been victims of bullying and abuse. And this goes across all ages. I want to really focus in my project of Thought Conditioners. I want to focus on our next generation. So I think that bullying is preventable. So bullying is a major cause of mental health trauma in children and adolescents, our future generation, our next generation. It's preventable. If we can prevent bullying, say if we can even prevent one child from being bullied, we can really help that child's life and help that child's future. We can save the child's family. And also what's really important about bullying is that the people who are the perpetrators, there's a lot of evidence that shows that bullying isn't good for them either. They're actually... There's a big tendency that, of course, the victims, they're suffering. But I think there's not enough out there to actually, for us to be talking directly to the bullies. All the bullying websites I've seen, rightly so, are providing support for the victims. And I'm not trying to sound controversial by saying support for the bullies. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I would like in the Thought Conditioning project is to kind of be speaking one-to-one to the perpetrators and actually talking to them directly and to help them to challenge their own behaviors.
Okay.
Equally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kavi, I'd like to share a story with you. The reason why I hold this topic really close, it's not something I really talk about, but in a very young part of my life, we were affected by hard times, and that had its emotional impact, obviously, as a child. And I honestly thought, where I used to go to school in Paddington in London, and I didn't have many friends, and I was bullied on a level that when I look back at now, I think if I was an adult, what would I do? But the bullying was so bad. I would be hit without any provocation whatsoever. I would be deemed to look dirty. I was picked on for small things. I would just be left isolated in the playground, and when children would pass by, I would just be attacked. And it terrified me so much that I couldn't divulge this to my parents. I would be worried that if I would open up to them, I would get into trouble, because the thought process as an innocent child usually is that parents would do anything to protect their children. So I was very scared that my dad might go in and tell this child off, or even do the same, because that was the type of behavior that I was exposed to, or even my mother would. And when you are in difficult circumstances and you see that your parents are stressed, often the child tends to put up barriers to safeguard that and prevent any stress from overspilling to the parents. So how did I work it out? I plucked up the courage to tell my mum. But the repercussions of that were that one of the bullies actually came up to me and said in a very threatening manner that we have found out that you have told your mum, and you are going to say that we never bullied you. And actually, I lied because I was so scared, and I was a 6 or 7-year-old child at the time. And I said, I honestly didn't tell my mum. It must have been so-and-so, or it must have been so-and-so. So that's an extremely vulnerable situation and position to be in. However, the end story is that when I worked in ENT in London, in St Mary's Hospital, I was doing a clinic. By then I'd grown, I developed a bit of personality, and I went out into the waiting room and I saw the parent of one of the bullies, and the bully was actually sat next to the parent, and they were on my patient list. And I started, even as an adult, to develop palpitations, anxiety. So I went into the consultant and I said, do you mind seeing this patient for me? And he said, why is that? And ENT surgeons can be quite eccentric.
Yeah.
So I told him I was bullied at school, and actually one of the bullies is sitting outside. And he said, okay, send him in and we'll deal with him. That's what he said. And I said, I don't want any trouble. I don't want to bring up the past, but it affects me. And he actually went in and he said, let me call one of my very capable ear, nose, throat surgeons to introduce you to. And when I walked into the room, the bully looked at me and I looked at the bully. And he said, Shabina tells me she used to go to school with you. And he just looked at me and said, he asked him, he said, so what do you do now? And he said, well, you know, I don't really have a proper job, etc., etc. But I could remember the look of shame in his eyes. And that was closure for me at that time. But it was just sheer coincidence. But to think that after so many years that I would still have palpitations. And actually one of the listeners has asked me beforehand, when I put up a video about this, that please share your story. So I'm sharing my story, but it does have its emotional implication. Perhaps that's the reason why I feel so strongly about it.
Yeah, I think you're really brave to speak up about that. You know, it's not something anyone could ever guess that you've been through. And I really feel for you. Yeah, there are laws on bullying. The law states that to to bully and to discriminate against people is against the law. It's actually a crime.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened to you was a crime.
Okay.
Yeah, was actually a crime. And the tragedy with this is that I think many children of our generation have suffered in school. Just think of the implications of that for families. What do parents want for their children, and why do parents send their children to school? School is one of the places where parents send their children to be safe and to get positive things. Just think of the irony of when, I'm not sure what your mother's reaction was, but I'm sure she would have been devastated.
Yes.
Just think of the irony, just to think of the effect on parents. I could go into so much detail of this. Parents feel guilty. Why did I send my child to this school? I remember my own parents feeling guilt of actually choosing to come to the UK. There was so much racism.
Yeah.
What you're saying reminds me of when I was 5 years of age. I was called Brownie. I was sometimes called Blackie.
Oh, God.
And I remember there was a girl, she didn't want to talk to me, she didn't want to play with me. And then later on she was okay with me, and then I asked her, why were you like that towards me? Because I just thought you were just a brownie. So
Oh my goodness.
so yeah, these painful things, and yes, I know it was my parents' choice to obviously come here, and I was born here. Here we are back again. You know, we are in the UK. Every place has its positives and negatives, but it's horrible to live in fear, and it's wrong.
It's wrong. Now, we get plenty of patients. I have indeed, and it was one of the reasons why I did an audit on this actually in general practice to see how many. And the reason why I became so concerned was I was getting requests from girls to be referred for things like laser hair removal and whitening treatments to give to them, and being in tears about their skin, being in tears because they weren't the right weight, and saying that they were bullied. And these were secondary school girls. And when it came to a point when one of my patients came, then walked out, and I looked and I thought, hang on, this just can't be right. What's going on? I want to do an audit on this. So I did, and I found out in that year alone I'd seen 25 young girls predominantly who had been bullied. And hence I then posed a question to counsel as to how strong and robust are anti-bullying policies in school. I put this to the Cabinet Member for Education at the time. Wow. And I think that that's so essential. However, do we think schools are actually doing enough to address bullying? Because we have many parents who might be listening to us and watching us, and they want answers as to what needs to be done by schools to address bullying, so that, as you say, the factor of safety, reassurance, being in a safe environment is something that a child can enjoy just like they do in the home.
I think things are inadequate, to be really, really honest. And I'm seeing a massive number of bullying cases in secondary schools. Many children feel safe and secure in primary schools. And there's a resurgence between the ages of 11 and 14. I'm seeing many children who are being traumatized by bullying. And I've noticed some particular groups, so children who have skin problems.
Yeah.
Typically, I can almost gauge within 30 seconds this child has a skin problem. And as we do in our consultations, we ask about their ideas and concerns and expectations. How is that actually affecting them? It may seem like an obvious question, but it's so important. If it's on an exposed area, it will be affecting them because people tease them.
Yeah.
This is how low we are as a society. We have not succeeded in eliminating these kind of prejudices.
Yeah.
So, yeah, skin problems, massive. More than the actual condition or disease.
Yeah.
It's the appearance that's a problem. There are also children who are quite different and who have different needs. Children with some autistic spectrum features who are in mainstream school
Yeah.
and not quite needing a different school.
Sure.
Life is very hard. Life can be very hard for them.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that this is happening, there's a lack of education being given to these children, our next generation, about compassion
Yeah.
and thought processes.
Yeah.
And this is one part where I want the thought conditioning to be, to promote positive psychology. So I sent you an email about the fact that I was recently in India. And in India, a major problem at the moment is pollution.
Sure.
And there's a lot of things going on to fight that. We're really lucky we don't have air pollution. But I'm comparing this culture of bullying and unkindness and abuse to toxic environment. It's just like, that's like toxicity, but that's toxicity in the mind. And we can do things to help to clean that up and clear out the mind pollution and the mind toxicity.
That is what I'm absolutely interested in knowing. I've had so many frustrated patients sometimes, not patients, but parents, sorry.
Yeah.
Correct myself, calling me out of hours.
Yeah.
And saying they have a crying child, in fact, a wailing child, a completely exasperated child because they're too scared to go into school. What do schools need to do, in your opinion?
Schools need to address the problem. Schools need to listen to these children. Right, so a child who's being bullied, that child needs to be acknowledged. And that child needs to be fearless, and the child needs to have reassurance that they can actually speak without repercussions. And they can speak, as long as somebody's speaking the truth, there should be no fear. So if a child is speaking the truth, there should be a lot of importance and positivity given for truth. Anyone who's speaking the truth should be given credit. So if a child talks about their own bullying, if another child talks about another child who's being bullied that they've witnessed, these things really need to be taken on board, listened and acknowledged. That's very important.
Yeah.
And not brushed aside, not to make excuses. That's another one. Oh, these things happen in childhood. Those are cowardly responses. Oh, these things happen, so what? That's conformity. That's just, so-and-so does it, so what?
Yeah.
Not to make excuses. Yes, everyone's busy. There's many children in a school.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we can spend our whole lives just making excuses that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's just like procrastinating. So yeah, this is what needs to happen. They need to be listened to and acknowledged and respected and honoured. If we're not giving them respect, why would we expect those children to, when they grow up, to give other people respect if they're not given respect at this tender age?
It's this precedent towards a vicious cycle of
Yes.
psychological harmful events.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about it, I would say that are we saying here, and it's very good to be open because we have listeners here that have their hopes invested on these shows.
Yeah.
Are we saying that it is the staff that are directly responsible for those children, for example, the class teacher, for example, the dinner lady in the playground? My thoughts were that, like we have a cascade system for reporting safeguarding concerns, for example, why can't we have exactly the same implementation of bullying? So, identified bullying, whoever the responsible staff member is, they raise the concern, and there has to be pathways. What I often see is that a child that is being bullied, in cases where that child is acknowledged, but the action that is taken is very much not in correlation with what needs to be done to stop this harmful effect from taking ground. So, for example, children may be sat together in a group setting and they may be asked, what is it that you don't like? Or what is it that you don't like? And I don't actually think that these conversations are strong or instrumental enough to nip this problem in the bud. And the other thing that they usually have, which is great, is something known as a buddy bench, where children who feel alone or isolated will go and sit on the bench and a child will come to them. But they're not actually addressing the problem of bullying. And that is where my big question mark area is, that they have lots of policies, but such children should have records maintained about them. They should have a file that is set up for them. Their psychological well-being should be asserted. Their progress in education should be identified. And actually, it's very important that as much engagement with the victims takes place as with the perpetrator's family, to say that it's not something that we can tolerate here or allow. I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
Well, as I said, even for the perpetrator and the perpetrator's family, the outlook is not good. The prognosis isn't good. The people who develop bullying behaviours, they're not doing themselves any favours. So I think a useful way to look at it is, rather than, I'm sure every school says that we need to behave well, good behaviour,
Sure.
assemblies, that's, I'm sure, PHSE, it's always talked about. But what would be useful is the perpetrators need to realise that it's actually good for them to develop positive habits. And it's really interesting to look at the causes of why these behaviours happen. Once we understand the causes, then we can start to nip them in the bud. And basically, bullying and abuse is all about controlling other people. That's basically what it is. So it's all about having that sense of control that feels really good at that time, and it can even be addictive. So if you tell someone to do something that they're really enjoying, and probably their peers enjoy it as well when they do it in a group, and you just say, oh, you shouldn't do it because it's bad, that's probably not going to motivate them. But I think there are many things we can do to, I think there are always ways forward. And this is why I've brought this book with me, The Chimp Paradox, Mind Management. There's some really brilliant concepts in here. But basically what it says, that everybody's brain has a human center and an emotional center, humanity center and an emotional center. So people who are bullying, being abusive, being cruel, they aren't operating from their humanity center. They're purely just playing out their emotions of wanting to be controlling, their emotions of wanting to vent out frustration. That's basically what they're doing, and that's very easy to do. But to operate from the humanity center, which involves honesty, compassion, self-control, high emotional intelligence, that's what the humanity center operates from. It's harder to do that. So this is the thing with children and adolescents, to get them to do something that's harder than what comes naturally will take practice.
Okay.
But it's possible.
So what type of, who could deliver this understanding? To say, for example, we talk about children, we can talk about adolescents as well, but who can, within the school setting, we have the facilities and the you can say infrastructure in place. Would it be the school nurse best placed to deliver this understanding, do you think, or in your opinion, the teaching staff?
I think it needs to be a group effort. I think, as far as I've seen, the school nurses are normally sort of swept off their feet with all the medical issues. So I think the staff who teach PHSE in schools, they could bring this on. We could even have psychologists, doctors going into school. We could use the media more. We could use some really good websites. We could use positive psychology to really be incorporated into schools. So yes, that could be done in many ways.
Well, we've got some fireworks going off, so we've obviously said something that somebody likes, and wants to celebrate, which is great. But I think I agree with you. And we've also got that arm of public health, because I think it's a very big public health concern.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
We're coming up to a break. We've got about 60 seconds to the adverts. And the wonderful neighbours are really celebrating the show out by telling us that they adore the programme and that they want us to talk a little bit more about this. When we come back, I'd really like to talk about the project that you spoke of.
Yeah.
And you've given us some good... Do you know, you're giving me so much peace and therapy just by the way you're talking, that I could close my eyes and fall asleep. I'm just so much peace now, which
I
is
think
great.
you're too kind. Oh, that's so sweet.
Very therapeutic indeed. So hopefully when we come back after the break, we will. Before I go on to a break, though, I want to give a shout out to Sister Ruxana Corso, who runs the Peterborough Women's Association, and she gets it from everywhere. And I don't want you to get it from everywhere. I want you to just feel that the world is your oyster. Go and rule it. But don't go away, Sister Ruxana, because I want you to join me after the break to hear a little bit about what Dr. Kavita has to say.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
The masjid is a center of spirituality, education, and a social hub for the community. In the times of the Blessed Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, the masjid lay at the heart of society and was not just a place of sanctuary and prayer, but also a thriving educational institution. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said, "Whoever builds a masjid for Allah, be it large or small, Allah will build for him a house in paradise." Sunnah al-Tirmidhi. The role of the masjid has always been instrumental in the educational, social and moral uplifting of the Muslim community. Please donate by visiting childrenofadam.net or call us on 0300 321 0032.
Had a car accident or an accident at work? Accident specialists are experts in no-win, no-fee accident claims. Leave the hassle to us. Our multilingual settlement experts will manage the entire claims process on your behalf, with nothing to pay up front. We provide services such as credit hire, taxi vehicles, recovery, storage and much more. For full details on our range of services and a free consultation, call us on 01733 555 774 or visit our office at 249 Lincoln Road opposite the NatWest Bank. Accident Specialists. Start your successful claim today.
Feel like some great tasting chicken tonight? Great meal deals, wraps, burgers and sides. We've got it all at Chicken Palace. Call and collect at 302 Lincoln Road on 01733 702 447 or 8 Park Road on 01733 343750. Chicken Palace, open 11 a.m. till late.
दोस्ता की परेशान है
जरा कर है ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं मार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
आलाता उठा क्या स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां मियारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक ने टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शय लबनी
उठा जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374.
Tired of going to the butchers for your halal meat? Haji Baba is now open in Asda. We've been in Asda for over 10 years with over 45 counters nationwide. Come to us for better packaging, variety and great quality. Chicken breast, cubes or mince, only $3.99 a kilo. Lamb or sheep leg, shoulder or mixed for only $6.99 a kilo. Baby chickens only $1.99. All your halal meat and grocery needs under one roof. Haji Baba Halal Meat. Find us in Asda.
Good life, good life. Allah, I wanna thank you for the good life. I wanna wake up in the morning with the sun, wear a smile, go out and have some fun. Gonna take away the worries on my mind, oh, but them no
If you want to learn about Islam and Muslims, stay tuned to Salam Radio 106.2 FM.
Right, so as it said, it's telling you to stay tuned to Salam Radio 106.2 FM because that is exactly who we are. We are Salam Radio 106.2 FM. This is your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum for Salam Radio, the Body, Health and Mind Show. I don't know actually why I say that word, your very own, because I do feel like your own. And I want you all to appreciate that because honestly, the hard work that goes into these shows, we research, we read, we look at the topics that are supposed to be addressed, and then we've got wonderful guests, and then we've got our whole support in the background that is running this. That's why we call you our very own. Yeah, so I am your very own Dr. Shabina Asad Qayyum. And you know what? If you want to text and WhatsApp us on 07745278978 to ask us anything about today's show or the topic, or share an experience if you feel you'd like to, that would be great. We're having some brilliant input as well. We've got Sister Michelle, great topic, sis, which is wonderful. We have Mr. Amjad Iqbal, no doubt it's a really good topic. Mr. Imtiaz Khan, very nice. Thank you very much for the support. It's wonderful to have you all listening. So we were talking a little bit before the break, Kavi, you were talking to us about the mind management book that you saw, and we were talking about how schools can better sort of address this. Now, you are doing something that is known as the Thought Conditioners Project. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, okay. So thought conditioners, one way I'll describe it is we often come across physical conditioners. We see advertisements about skin, how to make your skin better, how to make your hair better. How often do we see advertisements, how to make your mind better? What kind of thoughts, what kind of thought habits can actually nourish your mind on a daily basis? So
yeah,
I'm sort of challenging that why aren't those coming on television as frequently as we see all the cosmetic stuff? So thought conditioners are there to really nourish the mind, make the mind nicer and healthier.
Yeah.
And another way I'm going to sort of describe it is it's like thought conditioners. I'd like to see them. It's still developing, but they're kind of like your little heroes, your helpers. So just like in the old days when there's a problem and Superman turns up.
Yeah.
So he's the superhero who helps. So these thought conditioners are actually inspired by heroes to provide superb thought patterns and great help for people to help their own thoughts.
Sure.
And in this, the superheroes, I'm going to name them.
Yeah, do.
So Steve Peters is one of them. He's a brilliant psychiatrist, Professor Steve Peters. He has done a lot of research with how the mind works. And he has written recently a book called The Hidden Chimp, and he's talked all about the children's mind and how children's minds develop and how certain behaviors and certain thought patterns can develop from an early age and then lead into adulthood.
Sure.
So he's a brilliant superhero because by employing these concepts, we can actually help children to have good thought patterns.
Okay.
And I've got some other superheroes. Albert Ellis, he was a psychologist who brought out the first form of cognitive behavioral therapy. So again, really brilliant tools for very healthy thought patterns.
Yeah.
And these are the things I want to incorporate in the project, which is still underway.
Okay. And you talk a little bit about sort of these well-known figures within their area of speciality.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any literature or any exercises of the type that parents could implement on their children that you know of, or a book or a publication that they could read to try and help instill those type of positive behaviours into their children?
Yes, there are many books that have been written specifically for children. So Wayne Dyer, who was a brilliant spiritualist, he's written beautiful books for giving peace to children, and for the parents can read with their children about having healthy minds. As I said, Steve Peters has written about the hidden chimp. That's all about the children's mind.
Right.
And as we were talking about bullying, abuse, and children suffering, all these concepts can really, really help children.
Yeah.
There's other things. There are actually wonderful meditation tools that are actually purely for children. I think they're very underused mindfulness tools just for children. And I can recommend a lady called Heather Bestel. She's actually made a magical meditation kit purely for children.
Wow.
And that's wonderful.
Where would you access that from? Is it online or?
Yeah, it's online.
Heather
Available
Bestel.
from Amazon, available to buy. A lot of the things are free if you just go online, and so they're easily available, they're easily accessible. So these are things that parents can do with children.
Okay.
And they're good habits, because we think that children are now finding their main entertainment when they go on the computer, they use smartphones. They're using all the digital technology, and it's natural. They want to play games. So why don't we incorporate these things on their communication devices where they can enjoy these as well?
That's right. And actually, I've had a bit of a light bulb moment, because one of the other very newer forms of bullying that wasn't around when we were young is cyberbullying.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to keep a tab or to monitor your children's online activities. What are your thoughts on cyberbullying, what the approach to it could possibly be?
Well, we need to think, why is it so prominent? Why is it so prevalent? Why do people get stuck into it? I think the first thing is the more we understand as to what the situation is and why it's happening, the less we have to be afraid of. And I think, unfortunately, bad news sells better than good news.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately human nature. So people are more drawn towards negative things.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to say about cyberbullying and all these negative things online, this is why I've just started this website, and the first word on that is anti-abuse.
Wow. Okay.
So let's create antidotes. There's cyberbullying, there's awful stuff online. Let's bring out antidotes to neutralize it. It's like the war is on. So this website, which I'll talk about, the top word is anti-abuse.
Yeah.
And I've written on a few things here that, again, I want to appeal to people, and so that they can think about their own thoughts, reconsider their own thoughts in a non-judgmental way.
Sure.
And I'll read out something of what I've written here.
Yeah,
okay?
I'd love you to.
And this is almost as if anyone can be reading it and sort of saying it to themselves.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So condition your thoughts. What thoughts are you thinking? Are they predominantly positive or negative? Are they self-helping or self-destructive? Are they likely to lead to positive outcomes or negative outcomes? Do they support your best self? Do they support your best awesome self? So I'm really trying to get to speak to those people who probably need to change their thought patterns, but trying to do it in a positive way. Are you scaring yourself, or are you building yourself up? Because so many people live in fear. Do you think that your thoughts are actually toxic or non-toxic? Are your thoughts your friends or more like your enemies? And do you really want to live out the experiences that these thoughts will give you? So this is, Remember, you can make yourself well with your own thoughts, or you can make yourself ill.
Yeah.
You are the only thinker in your mind. So what I've written here is just anyone sitting down and looking at that, simply writing the answers to these questions is a really great starting point to analysing your own thoughts and starting your journey to improvement and being your best self. So you deserve to be your best self.
Yeah.
Go on, do yourself a favour. So that's one of the things I've written on here.
I think it's so amazing, though, because you have... I think this... Would I be right in assuming that this is directed more to the perpetrator as opposed to the victim?
Probably both.
Both?
Yeah.
It sends out a very strong message as well to perpetrators, in fact, in thought conditioning. And it makes sense that that person is then being given the opportunity to analyze what they're doing. And I think that it's this type of thought conditioning that needs to be incorporated in schools. But then again, we've got bullying of adolescents and even adults within the workplace, don't we?
Yeah. And there's anti-bullying policies everywhere.
Yeah.
If you go into any workplace, if you look at their documents and the contract, it's got an anti-bullying procedure. So yes, I think this could be beneficial everywhere, and everyone could. I do want to go out into schools and start speaking.
Sure.
That's something I really want to do, and I think it's so important to target or connect with our next generation.
Yes.
Because those are we can do something about that.
Yes. Yes.
We can do some. These are the minds that are developing.
Yes, that's right.
So the other concept is that. It's a beautiful concept that the mind is just like a garden. Everyone's mind is just like a garden. And the thoughts are like the seeds. Okay? So we can all plant seeds in our garden. When we plant seeds in our garden, we know that it will take time to grow. Okay? So if we want a beautiful garden, again, everyone can ask themselves, do you want a beautiful garden? Do you want a beautiful mind? Do you want a beautiful, successful, wonderful, winning mind?
Yeah.
Okay? Do you want to have the mind that's similar to the most successful people in the world, the most awesome people in the world? That's kind of motivating. So yes, it's just like a garden. So all you need to do is think about the seeds that you're planting in your garden. Okay? And if you're aware of planting, say, poison ivy seeds, I'll call it poison ivy, the bad ones, you can pluck them out early on.
Yeah.
Don't let them make a massive weed plant in your garden. Is that what you'd want in your real garden?
No.
Think of your mind in exactly the same way. So in your garden, you'd want to plant beautiful flowers, beautiful seeds, but then realize that you need to then take care of your garden. You need to water it. And the seeds that you plant, they will develop, and they will take time to then blossom into, beautiful outcomes. And that's exactly what the mind is like. It will only return to you what you give.
That's so important.
Yeah.
And it's something that you rarely hear. I'm imagining you must spend a good amount of time with your patients who come to you with emotional distress, because what you advise is wonderful. It's nothing short of actually a counsel or a counsellor giving that advice. And you are actually giving very beneficial tools for people to take hold of, to think about, and actually say, well, actually, this could work to my benefit. And there was something that you spoke about. So first of all, there was the cognitive behavioural therapy, I think, that we spoke about, and there was the other one. Was it the evolve or something?
Rational emotive behavioural therapy.
Yes. What does rational emotive behavioural therapy mean? And just before we go on, Sister Michelle, the station manager, has very kindly on the video put down the Magic Garden Magical Meditations for Kids publication. So that's available from Amazon.
Yeah.
And also, Mr. Munir Ahmed, good evening. Good evening to you. He is somebody who joins us every single week, so I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for the endorsement, and says it's a great example what you've given about the garden, which is great.
Thanks.
So rational emotive thinking.
Yeah. So rational emotive behavioral therapy was a type of psychotherapy developed by this great guy called Albert Ellis, who's no more. And basically it is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. But basically all he said is that there are different types of thought process, broadly speaking, divided into rational and irrational. Okay? So the rational thought process can lead to healthier outcomes, and the irrational thoughts, if we continue to think that way and then behave in that way, they lead to more unhealthy outcomes. It's a broad way of putting it. It's quite easy to follow. Now let me explain what rational is. So rational thoughts are flexible. They are flexible and they are helpful. and they are constructive. Okay, but I think flexibility is a very important one that he actually put across. Now, I'll give you some really easy examples. So, what he said about one irrational thought pattern about that people have about themselves, right? So the example in that is, I must always be right. I must always be perfect. I must always be appreciated by everybody. So it's kind of the must. He's, I have to be, must. Absolutistic, fatalistic dictates. Those kind of things, he said, they're not helpful, because the reason, if someone has this irrational, rigid thought pattern about themselves, when they say, if they fail a test, say if they don't get great marks in something, or say if someone's horrible to them, then the logic is they won't be able to cope with it then. Because their expectations and their thoughts about themselves are so rigid. So irrational is irrational, rigid beliefs about oneself, rigid beliefs about others, and rigid expectations about your situation. So the other irrational about your situation would be, everything must work out really fine for me all the time. That's actually irrational. And their way, you might get the spoilt kid syndrome, that I must always have my way, things must always work out the way I expect them, because that's, that's what I do. So then the thing is, again, when that doesn't happen, they kind of don't cope. And the third one is the irrational things about people in the world. If we always expect everyone to be always the way we expect them to be, and always nice to us, it just doesn't happen in real life. When that doesn't happen, we can't cope. So his ways are a little bit different, but I think that his methods can be very helpful in many situations, in many types of people. Especially there are many people who are perfectionists.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like me, actually, when I think about it. But that's so useful. And I wanted to say, I've got a very little listener. She's my favourite listener, by the way. I'm going to talk about her in a bit. Her name's Sakina. She's watching us right now. And she's full of life. She's kind to others, and she's been taking everything you've said on board, and she's going to use those tools to spread love and happiness in her classroom to her mates around her. So I want to give a shout out to Sakina Iqbal. So thank you very much for listening and watching, my favourite little listener, and my friend as well, by the way. So she's one of my best friends too. And that's so positive as well, that you have given these tools and these approaches. Now, I've got a very important comment here. It's by Sister Salma Latif, who wants to share the story of her daughter with you. And she says, my daughter came home telling me there are some horrible people at her school calling her a diabetic girl. She's been diagnosed with diabetes. She's in year 7 at a secondary school and has never had any problems with bullies surrounding her diabetes before. But I feel this may be the start, indeed. Are there any tips for dealing with the bullies at the school? So I've said to tell them, yeah, that's right, I'm diabetic Mariam, but at least I'm not a bully. Am I overreacting? She's got a lot of mental health issues, yet is exceeding in every single subject. However, I'm worried this will start affecting her academic progress. So we've got a mum here who's worried. And again, so. Mariam is a very wonderful young girl who I know. So what advice do you have for this mum in addressing those bullies?
You're right to feel concerned. We need to really stand up for our children, and we need to encourage our children to be assertive at an early age. So assertiveness is saying, well, actually, I deserve respect, I matter, and so do you. We all deserve respect. So actually discriminating someone, calling them names based on a condition that they have, is again, it's actually against the law. So speak to the school teacher. And show the teacher these. I've got these government guidelines here.
Okay.
We can put them on the website.
That would be great.
There's there's proper guidelines, up-to-date guidelines about bullying in schools. Okay, show them. It's absolutely unacceptable. Now, if people, again, the people who are calling her names, are they doing themselves any favours by doing that? What kind of education are they giving themselves? What kind of thought process are they developing?
Toxic, yes. Toxic.
Why should she put up with it? Don't put up with... Say no to wrong things. Just say no. No, it's unacceptable. Because if her daughter is having to put up with this, likely other people will be picked on for other things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, prevention is better than cure. Why should your daughter start having traumatic or mental health problems because of other people's wrong behaviour and wrong thinking? Let's bring the beautiful garden into everyone's mind.
Absolutely.
And let her be assertive for her, and just say the right thing.
Yeah. So it says that, I've looked at the website for gov.uk, which says that actually bullying at school, some forms of bullying are actually illegal, Sister Salma, and should be reported to the police. Obviously, schools and the law, by law, all state schools must have a behaviour policy in place. But this is exactly what we've been talking about, that they have behaviour policies in place. However, they're not very stringent, are they? But I'm happy to put this through. We are reaching the end of the show.
Oh, no.
But I'd like you to wrap up and say a few things, if you would, about this in a nutshell.
Yeah, it would be nice to think that we are progressing as a society. We are progressing, in the UK and the world, and giving positive things for our next generation. And yes, what's written here about bullying. Bullying is repeated harassment or intimidation. For example, name-calling, threats, abusive phone calls or emails or text messages. It is against the law. Let's help everyone in this.
Yeah.
Let's work together in this.
I think it's so important to work together. And I think Sister Michelle, again, wonderful, has shared the anti-bullying, obviously, law, what the law says on the bottom of the video. But Kavita, thank you so much for coming in. Honestly, huge amount of respect to you for the work that you're doing in this area.
Thank you.
It's commendable. It really is. And honestly, hats off to you. If you need any assistance at all from me to try and get this into sort of implementing it in schools, if you'd like to talk to them, it'd be something I'd love to help you on. So absolutely, no reservations whatsoever. You're doing an absolutely wonderful job. And I hope to get you back soon on another show.
Thank you, Shabina. Thank you for calling me. It's been such an honour to be here.
Oh, you're very welcome. Now, listeners, we've got to make a few announcements. So first of all, I'd like to tell you about our Seniors Club at the Gladstone Connect, which is here at the Iqbal Centre on 157 Cromwell Road. Now, I wanted to come to this on Thursday. Unfortunately, I couldn't last Thursday, but it starts every Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. It started on the 17th of October, where talks take place, arts and craft, yoga, meditation. Oh, this sounds just like my type of thing. The Seniors Club. I probably would qualify for it as well. Music, dancing, games, quizzes, friendship, food, afternoon tea, and gentle exercise. So do take advantage of it. It's absolutely wonderful. For further information, contact Richard on 01733 756 275 or email gconnect157@gmail.com. Do make use of it and take advantage of it. The other event that I would like to bring to your attention is Virtues in Peterborough, which is the Virtues Tour, celebrates the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. May the prayers and the peace of God be upon him through inspirational talks, poetry and art. It provides an exciting opportunity to learn and understand the many different aspects of the best of God's creation. This is going to take place on Wednesday, the 6th of November from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Holiday Inn at Thorpe Wood. That's actually today. So if you want to go along there, the adult tickets are £10 and child's under 19 are £5. And if you've got a family of 2 children and 2 adults, it's £25, and under 5s are free. So do make your way to that as well. And whilst I've got you all here, Saturday the 23rd of November, Thrive 3, which is a vegan Christmas festival for the animals, for the health, for the planet. Over 50 stalls and vendors. There are ethical products, zero waste. It's going to take place from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Bushfield Leisure Centre in Ortongate. And they have a Facebook page on it too. And then we have the Payos Affordable Art Fair 2019, which is Saturday the 23rd of November at the Colonel Dane Memorial Hall, Church Street, Old Walton. And that's going to take place from 11 to 4 p.m. Free entry and parking, and everything £50 and under. So browse for a creative Christmas present. And then we have the Amna Friendship Club, which starts 7th of October at the Alam Iqbal Centre. 9 seconds until we say and bid farewell to you all. Thank you. It's been such a wonderful interaction, and hopefully, inshallah, see me next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road, Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of